Hello and welcome or welcome back to Brexit Nomads, the new YouTube channel which has been created to help give you advice and inspiration perhaps and a bit of fun to think about carrying on with your adventures even though Brexit has happened and could cause us to stop. So this part of the channel is called the Survival Guide. Of course, if you're going to travel and live away from the UK, you do need some kind of medical support, especially if you live with a long-term health condition or a chronic condition. I have two actually, but we are still looked at. My partner also has some. We are still looked after by the wonderful NHS. It is true, it's a lot more difficult because they are struggling. So it takes a lot more patience to get the medication. But with Brexit Nomads, what we want to do is to continue to live our lives as fully as possible and to not be a burden to anybody, to be as free as possible. So one piece of advice really is, whatever your plans are, try to keep your connection with your local GP. So we have to come back every 6 months to get our medication. And when we moved to Spain in 2011, quite often that entailed one of us flying from Malaga, this sounds a bit crazy, from Malaga to Brighton or to Gatwick and then down to Brighton, pick up the medication and then fly back again, and then the other one would do it a week later. But twice a year that was very possible. Now with Brexit, that's not so easy, quite frankly, or not so legal. The maximum that you can take into the country now is 2 months of medication. So before, also when we were locked down on the island of Crete and also in Athens, a great friend of ours received the medication on our behalf and posted it out to us. So that was also an option before Brexit. But again, now there is so much paperwork that 2 months is the maximum you can take, and it takes a lot of procedural things. So we found ourselves flying back from Crete with no COVID vaccinations, with no medication. We literally had a week left of our medication, and well, essentially we'd overstayed the Brexit conditions because the flights kept getting cancelled in the second COVID lockdown. But hey ho, so sometimes Brexit is like the small part of what can stop your travels. However, came back and signed up with a GP and a specialist clinic in Northampton. Got our information transferred over from Brighton, which was very easy actually. And since then we've been receiving 6 months of medication. It is tricky. We want to go off now to Greece and Turkey. So we need 6 months of medication to take out with us. No problem. Although it does take a long time. We're trying to phone up to get an appointment to get our bloods taken, and for 2 weeks nobody answered the phone. So of course patience is certainly a virtue. And we can clap the NHS, but that's not going to help get the medication, is it? And sincerely, wonderful people, you know, anybody that's still working for the NHS, you deserve a lot more than a clap and a lot more than the painfully small pay increase. At least it's something, I guess. But just to give you, this is my medication for 1 month. So 6 months. We can't travel that lightly, can we? So that's half of this suitcase taken up with medication. However, without your health, you really can't do anything. So really would advise you to keep contact with a GP, with your clinic here. It is a pain in the butt to have to fly backwards and forwards, but actually the medication that I take is £1,000 a month. It depends where you go though. In India, it was possible to buy the same medication for €60, the equivalent €60 per month in any pharmacy. And a lot of things are still not on prescription. You can go straight in India. And actually even in parts of Europe, you can still get, for example, Rob takes blood pressure pills, Perindapil or Covasil, they call it over there. No problem. €5, 30 tablets. But it's no longer possible to get antibiotics, which, while we understand that because of increased resistance, it's very difficult if you have an infection. So maybe think about building Turkey into part of your itinerary. That's what we're doing. Not only is it still really affordable, really lovely people, and of course there's been the terrible earthquake, but like anywhere, it is quite localized. It's very cheap at the moment because everyone's quite scared about going there. Rightly so. We'll see if we can do some help as well with some of the communities. That's what we like to do when we are there. But you can buy antibiotics still from the chemist and still a lot of the medication. So Rob set off yesterday. He was literally gone 8 hours of waiting around to get the pills. But now we have 2 months, couldn't get 6 months. We have a doctor's appointment, which is a phone call now. And then hopefully before we fly out, we can pick up another 6 months and carry on. But yeah, just do keep looking after your health. It's my advice. When we lived in Spain, I had hepatitis C, which was untreated, very nearly died in the top of this beautiful attic. Little house on the prairie cottage. Didn't mean anything when you spend 6 months vomiting with nosebleeds, with no help whatsoever. So if you can afford it, of course, private health insurance. But if you're in our situation where you have very limited finance, then just make use of the connections that you do have. Try and use the NHS. We do still pay into the National Insurance Service. We don't pay taxes anywhere, but we don't take any benefits either. So I suppose you just do the best you can. And keep traveling. Honestly, for us to be out in the sunshine with some really wonderful weather, people, food is probably the best medication ever. So happy travels, and don't let that put you off. Keep traveling and enjoying. Bye for now. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button. Brexit Nomads. Tell people about it or warn people about it. Up to you. Happy Easter. Bye-bye.